I still strongly believe the light of America's promise will burn bright as long as we never give up and we keep fighting. And the fight that fueled our campaign, a fight for freedom and opportunity, that did not end on November 5th. A fight for the dignity of all people, that did not end on November 5th. A fight for the future, a future in which all people receive the promise of America? No. A fight that is about a fight for the ideals of our nation, the ideals that reflect the promise of America, that fight's not over.
Kamala Harris has finally broken her silence following one of the most devastating election losses in modern American history. While her campaign attempted to tout historic achievements, the numbers alone couldn't obscure the glaring problems within the Democratic Party. During a virtual event meant to thank her supporters, Harris struck a tone of optimism, yet the underlying disappointment was hard to ignore.
I am so grateful for you, and I'm so thankful to you. I'm thankful for your love of our country and your willingness to put the work into it. I'm thankful for the faith that you put in me and Governor Walz and our team. And I am thankful because I know your character is such that you're not going to get knocked down. And you're in this fight. And you're in it for all the right reasons. And I know that about you. It's why you're part of this call right now and all the work that you did over those 107 days and even before. That's your nature.
Harris emphasized the scope of her campaign, focusing on the coalition it built and the outreach it achieved. She celebrated the record-breaking grassroots donations and historic voter engagement. Yet critics have pointed out that these logistical successes were overshadowed by the campaign's lack of a coherent message.
Because of your efforts, get this, we raised an historic $1.4 billion, almost $1.5 billion from grassroots supporters alone, the most in presidential campaign history. Nearly 8 million donors contributed an average donation of about $56 to fuel our people-powered campaign.
While Harris praised her team's efforts, these statistics only served to highlight the campaign's inefficiencies. Despite mobilizing an army of volunteers and raising unprecedented funds, the Democrats lost ground among key demographics, particularly working-class voters. The campaign's inability to address core voter concerns like economic security and public safety became a glaring issue.
Voters made a very simple calculation, as they do in every presidential race. Who is going to make my neighborhood safer? Who's going to make my home safer? Who's going to make my job more secure? Who's going to make the country more secure in any given order? And we lost on all four fronts.
Even Harris's own supporters have criticized the campaign's decision-making. One of the most glaring missteps was her refusal to appear on Joe Rogan's podcast, a platform that could have reached millions of moderate and independent voters. Internal reports suggest that younger progressive staffers vetoed the appearance, raising questions about Harris's leadership and willingness to take risks.
The vice president was thinking about going on Joe Rogan's show, and a lot of the younger progressive staffers pitched a hissy fit. If I were running a 2028 campaign and I had some little snot-nosed 23-year-old saying, I'm going to resign if you don't do this, not only would I fire that motherfucker on the spot, I would find out who hired them and fire that person on the spot.
Even James Carville, a veteran Democratic strategist, didn't hold back his frustration with Harris's team, calling their decisions stupid and blaming poor campaign strategy for the loss.
People who had to lose the election because of the stupidity.
But Team Kamala is full of excuses on why the Harris-Rogan interview never happened. Members of her campaign leadership claim they wanted her to go on the popular podcast, but it's all Donald Trump's fault.
We wanted to do it. We tried to get a date to make it work, and ultimately we just weren't able to find a date.
Meanwhile, Harris's post-election actions have also drawn criticism. While the Democratic National Committee staff faced layoffs without severance, Harris chose to vacation in Hawaii. This decision, at a time of low morale within the party, further damaged her public image.
Does it look bad for the vice president to go to Hawaii while DNC staffers are just wondering what they're going to do for work?
The vice president has taken time off to go spend time with her family. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think she deserves some time to be with her family and to have some downtime. She has worked very hard over the last 4 years, and her taking a couple of days to be with her family, good for her.
Beyond optics, the campaign's failures reflect a deeper disconnect between the Democratic Party and voters. Donald Trump capitalized on this gap by delivering a clear, consistent message that resonated across demographics. Trump's success in winning over Black, Hispanic, Asian, and working-class voters starkly contrasted with Harris's struggles to energize even the Democratic base.
Donald Trump made more inroads with those voters than he did with white voters who didn't have a college degree, which is his strength. But he made up for it with inroads into the base of the Democratic Party. I don't think it'll take longer than 4 years. Technology and things, and the fact that we have governors across the country, you can certainly fill that void. But if we don't take 6 months and travel the country, crisscross it, go to places where Democrats don't go, try to understand school choice, try to understand what it means to stimulate growth and opportunity in pockets of the country that have been overlooked, people that have been overlooked, the middle class that feel like we don't believe in them and don't support them any longer. Understand that Donald Trump has done something unbelievable in politics. He's flipped the whole script. The working class now supports him. I don't think they support Republicans. They support him and people who support him. That's what we have to figure out. And if we're sitting around 3 weeks after the election and still talking about Joe Rogan, whom I like and respect, Joe Rogan's show had very little to do with the fact that she did not distance herself from Joe Biden sooner, and that she didn't have an economic message, that she didn't deal with the border, and that we didn't deal with how we were going to make neighborhoods safer across the country. I contend that's where the focus ought to be. And I got to tell you, I love hearing James Carville talk whenever
we
he
all
wants
do.
to talk.
We all do. But, you know, Charlie, in addition to all that, I'll add to it that she didn't seem very smart. And the fact that I'll throw that in. Yeah. OK, but in addition to that, John Morgan said, quote, the way she overspent on this campaign, $1.5 billion, literally disqualifies her from running for anything ever again. Imagine how she would be as president.
Yeah, no kidding. Not only is she not very smart, she didn't have a vision for what she wanted her campaign to be. I don't know what the woman believes. But every time she tries to explain it, it sounds like she's probably lying. And she's just saying whatever she has to say to sort of win the election. The reason, and the Joe Rogan thing is interesting, but the Joe Rogan thing was a symptom of the problem, not the problem itself.
Right. Well said.
It's that she knew she couldn't go out there and explain her positions and defend her positions in a way that people would find believable or trust her. And of course, the reason that Donald Trump routed in all of those different categories among voters is because he was talking about common sense issues, with common sense solutions.
Harris's closing remarks during the virtual event attempted to inspire hope, but they also underscored the uphill battle facing her party. While she called for unity and perseverance, critics argue that these words ring hollow without substantial changes in strategy and leadership.
So, listen, as I said the day after the election, I still strongly believe the light of America's promise will burn bright as long as we never give up and we keep fighting. And the fight that fueled our campaign, a fight for freedom and opportunity, that did not end on November 5th. A fight for the dignity of all people, that did not end on November 5th. A fight for the future, a future in which all people receive the promise of America? No. A fight that is about a fight for the ideals of our nation, the ideals that reflect the promise of America, that fight's not over.
Kamala Harris's post-election remarks have done little to ease tensions within the Democratic Party. Her campaign's failures, both in strategy and outreach, highlight the challenges of reconnecting with an electorate increasingly drawn to common-sense solutions over ideological rhetoric. Even her strongest appeals to unity and perseverance ring hollow when juxtaposed with the blunt realities of the election results.
And you have the same purpose that you did. and you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Can Harris and the Democrats regain the trust of voters, or will this defeat mark a turning point in American politics? What do you think the party needs to change moving forward? Let us know your thoughts below.